Hi everyone, welcome to the Knitting Turnpike. Welcome to the Knitting Turnpike. My name is Gina Pike. I'm so very happy that you're here with me today. Today we're going to be doing a project update. We are going to be showing a project I'm working on. I have quite a few people in this group here that is knitting this along with me. We're going to be showing some updates for some of the people, and we're going to be introducing some new people that are participating in this project knit along. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the Miss May MKAL. This is the Miss May Mystery Shawl Knit Along, hosted by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade. And it just started on June the 7th. We're getting a clue every week for 5 weeks, and a mystery shawl knit along, you get a clue. It is just a small portion of the pattern, and so each week we knit a little bit more. It's a really fun thing to do. It's very addictive. There's a lot of camaraderie. There's a group and rivalry where there's a lot of chatter going on. You can also talk with me about it if you want to. I know right now we have about almost 40 people participating in this mystery shawl knit along. That's a member here on the Knitting Turnpike, which is very exciting for me. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to share your projects here. I'm excited to get into that here in a little bit. But please, I encourage you guys to go back and watch the first clue. I will link that down below. That shows you how everything got started. This shawl is based on the designs of William Morris and May Morris. So were one of the pioneers of the arts and crafts movement. And you know, she took one of their prints and put a label together around it, and I actually ended up buying a kit of yarn from Amanda Hope based on that label. But there's so many other prints, so many other designs that William Morris, May Morris did, that you could easily pick one that you really love and design your shawl around it. This is a 4-color shawl. I'm doing 4 colors, but she did say up front you could easily do it in 1 color. And if you do it in 4 colors, you need 4 skeins of fingering weight yarn, which is about 1,600 yards. Most fingering weight skeins are about 400 yards. And you need about 958 yards total for this shawl. So you have quite a bit left over if you have 4 full skeins of yarn. So you could actually pull some scraps of some scraps that you might have left over from other projects and put that together to make the shawl. Or if you do a 1-color shawl, you just need 3 skeins of fingering weight yarn. That's about 1,200 yards if they're 400 yards each. And but still, you will still have some of that left over as well. I know some people are using their gradient skeins for this, which I'm really excited to see that. I tell you what, let me show you my clue 2. Now, this is a spoiler. If you are knitting this and you do not want to see this, you might not want to watch this video, because I'm going to be showing my clue 2, and I've got some clue 1s and some yarns and some clue 2s to show you from other people. So there's going to be all kinds of inspiration here, and what I'm really excited about is I absolutely love seeing a pattern knit in a different yarn, different way, different weights of yarn, different types of yarn. And so you're going to see a lot of that here today. There's about 900 people knitting this in Ravelry right now, so you also can go take a look at all the projects in Ravelry. The Ravelry project page will be linked below, as well as mine, and you can draw inspiration from that if you are thinking about knitting it. But I think you'll find a lot of inspiration here as well. There's a lot of different types of shawls being knit, and they're all just amazingly beautiful. I'm just blown away by all the talent that's here in this group, and it's so exciting. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. So excited to get to that part of my video. So let's just go ahead and get into this part. I'm going to show you my clue 2. Clue Clue 3 is going to release on the 21st, that Tuesday. This might be posting on Tuesday, or it might be Monday. I'm not sure how it depends on if I get any other projects to add to this or not. But here's my Clue 2. I have shown this on my live show, just like my last live show last Thursday night. I asked if people wanted to see it, and they did. So the first clue was just the first 3 colors. This is Aruba, Vichy Soie, Rose Gold, and then this last color, this was added for Clue 2, and that's Limoncello. So these are my 4 colors for my shawl. That's what it's looking like. So again, Clue 1 was these first 3, and then the Clue 2 is just this last part here. But as you can see, with a deep crescent shape, so this is a deep crescent shaped shawl, it gets bigger every 2 rows because you're adding increases a lot of times on the side. It just depends on the design, but you are adding stitches. It is getting bigger as you go along. So the amount that you knit gets longer this way and maybe not as long this way, but it gets a lot longer this way because you can see that's the length of your row. It's a couple hundred stitches now. So let me get up closer. You can see this, what it's looking like. You've seen all this recently, and then you can just see how Clue 2 built upon that. It just lined up, and there's another diamond here. It looks like a flower. Really beautiful. And that's my Clue 2. And I think my colors are looking kind of coastal. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see where the next color will come along. Some tips I have for you guys. There were no new stitches for Clue 2, which I didn't think there would be. I don't think there's going to be any new stitches for this shawl. She's really good about putting all of her stitches up front. I do have a stitch tutorial for this shawl. I will link it down below. Again, you could take a look at that and just make sure you're, if you're thinking about knitting this, you could look at those stitches, make sure you know how to knit them, or use it as a guide if you maybe need a little bit of a refresher. But my tip for this week, as your shawl is getting bigger, the pattern is so well written. Helen's patterns are probably where everybody should strive to write a pattern. It's great. She writes everything out line by line, so there's text for every line, and then she's got the stitch count for every line, and it's like in a check off formation, so you can check it off as you go along, which is amazing. I mean, I wish more designers would include the stitch count per row. But what I want to give you as a tip for this week is that as your rows get longer and you have these repeats, a few people have told me they've gotten off on their stitch counts. I like to use stitch markers. I don't know if you can see, there's a stitch marker here. The stitch marker marks off the part that's in between the repeats. And in the written text, it's asterisk to asterisk, and that's what you're repeating until you get to, you have a start part, and then you have all these repeats where all these little stitch markers are. And then after you do all the repeats, then you will have an ending part, little ending part, and then the edge stitches. So I like to do stitch markers, and the reason why, there's a couple of reasons why. First reason is that it for this pattern, when you're doing that repeat section, there's one row in Clue 2 where you will have to borrow stitches from the next section. But when you're knitting this up, if you're doing those repeats, if you get to the repeat early, say like you've got 2 stitches left to do, you're out of stitches in that repeat, there's a problem. And that gives you a red flag that you need to go back and check it. Because most of the time, the stitches between the repeats will work with the stitches in the repeat on the next row. And if there is if you do have to borrow, like on that one row that she tells us about on Clue 2, she'll give you a heads up so that you know that that's not, it's not usual that happens. Sometimes it does, so it helps you identify when you might have made a mistake. It's also another easy way to count stitches, because when you start getting to 200 stitches, counting to 200, 200, 205, 207, you know, just over and over again is a little bit, well, it just gets a little old for me. So what you could easily do is, you know, there might be, I don't know how many stitches are in these. It's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 21. So you count, if there's 21 stitches between the stitch markers, and you can, it's easier to count to 21 several times. For me it is, than counting to 200. So I also use this as a way to count the stitches for my stitch counts a lot faster as well. So just thought that would be another little tip I could share with you. I do have another tip about, and you know, this pattern is also charted in addition to being written out line by line. And I know a lot of people don't like to use charts. I do have a little bit of a tutorial kind of tape to insert here to talk about that, and just encourage you. I want to encourage you to look at the charts. Okay, so this is written out line by line. You have the charts. Set the chart beside your text and just kind of look at it and try to get more used to looking at the chart as you knit this. And you have the text right there you can fall back on, but look at how it's written in the chart, and I think the reason you'll start to like it. Okay, my tip for this week, for this Clue 2 of Miss May, there were no new stitches in doing Clue 2, which is this yellow section. There were no new stitches. All of the stitches have been covered in the stitch tutorial. But one of the things I want to encourage you, I know some people that are knitting this along with me have had some questions about their stitch count and it not adding up. I know Helen does a wonderful job of doing the stitches, writing out the pattern line by line and having the stitch count for each line, which is amazing. So many designers do not do that, but still you can get off on your stitch counts, and sometimes it's hard when you have 200 and something stitches per row to figure out exactly where you might have gone wrong. And that's where charts are very helpful. And I know a lot of you guys are like, I don't want to do a chart, but you can even just, even if you don't do the chart for your knitting, you can use the chart to help you figure out where in your pattern you have made a mistake. So let me just explain this, and hang with me. Don't just tune me out because I said a chart. This is the Ashton Shawlette pattern. This is by D. O'Keefe. This is the this is the shawl that we knitted in the Simpson Turnpike knit along last year, and this is a free pattern on Ravelry if you are interested in grabbing it. It is a charted pattern, and that's why I'm using it today, because Helen's patterns are paid and I don't want to give away her beautiful pattern. So take a look at this chart. When you look at a chart, and see, Helen has both. She has the written text and the chart, so you can look at the chart and see if you are getting it right by looking at the text. You know, challenge yourself, help yourself learn how to read a chart. But just basics of it for charts. Now this chart only has the right side rows, but usually you have the right side row. They start in the left and go from bottom to top. You can see here's the number 1, so you go in this direction on a right side row. Now row 2 is not on this chart because all of the wrong side rows you do a certain thing, and she just left it off the charts. But usually you have your row 2 over here and you go back. It's just like how you would do your knitting. You go in this direction for the right side row, and to go back on the wrong side you go back in this direction if you're looking at it from the right side. So that's why you go from this direction on the right side and this direction when you have a wrong side row there. It just goes exactly like your knitting goes. It follows the path of your knitting. Right side, wrong side, right side, wrong side, looking at it from the right side. So with that said, one other thing I want to talk about is you can, even if you're not using the charts to knit, if you have a stitch count error, you can go to the chart, go to the line where you might have an issue. Say that we're having an issue on this first line. Most of the time it's probably going to be just you left off a yarn over, which is easy to fix. But the way that I'm proposing to use the chart is that you can look in this first section before you get to the parts where you do all the multiple repeats. The multiple repeats are highlighted here in this blue section. So the first, before you get to the repeat parts, you're going to have 6 stitches. You can count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each square is a stitch. So if you do not have 6 stitches before you start doing all the repeats, there's where you have your stitch discrepancy. Then you look at all the multiple repeats parts, like the sections between your stitch markers. And again, this chart is not for this pattern, but you just count the number of stitches in each one of your little sections with your stitch markers, which is why I like to use stitch markers, because it helps me keep on track. Plus, I also knit with a chart. It just makes it easier for me to, if I come across an error as I'm going along, I can fix it right then. But in the repeat section for this pattern, you're supposed to have 12 stitches. If you do not have 12 stitches in each one of your repeats, that repeat that you do not have 12 stitches, that's your error. Then in the last section, after you've done all the repeats and you're just finishing up the row, that section for this pattern has 11 on that first row. If you do not have 11, you can figure out that your error is there, and it just helps you hone in where you might have a stitch count discrepancy. So when people are having stitch count errors, take a look at the chart just for that one row. Count up the stitches. It will help you figure out where you might be having a problem in this and help you maybe easily identify it and then fix it. So I hope that's helpful. If you would like more information on how to read charts, let me know down in the comments below. I'm happy to do that. I am a chart knitter. I actually prefer a charted pattern over a written out pattern any day of the week. And it just, ever since I've been doing charts, it has helped me, like I said, identify where my errors are very quickly, usually right then and there. I think I've only had to undo a couple of rows of knitting since I've been doing charts, whereas before I started doing charts, I mean, I've undone as many as 40 rows because I repeated something twice. So, you know, I just feel like my knitting's gotten, it's easier for me to identify it and read it. So it's just something to think about, since you have a pattern here that is charted and written out. You can double check yourselves and just start transitioning yourselves into being able to read charts better. I hope you'll find these tips helpful for this week for clue 2, and as you start to move into clue 3. I really think incorporating some stitch markers, trying to look at your chart, making sure things are lining up properly, are all very good practices to be doing as you continue on, and your shawl is getting bigger and you're getting more stitches on your needle. I think we're to the point now where we're going to talk about everybody else's projects, and I'm so excited to do that. I just have kind of been putting these in alphabetical order, so there's really no rhyme or reason or when you send this in. I just kind of put everybody's updates in a folder, and it alphabetizes everybody. So I hope that's okay. I'll just continue on with this. And I also want to say is that there is no rush on doing this. I'm trying to keep up with the clues as they go along, but there will be, we're extending this knit along through the end of August. So if you don't have an update, don't worry about it to send me for this week. After the 5 weeks of knitting these clues are over, I will be doing some additional videos, some updates, and then at the end of August, when this is all over, we will have a live show party, and I will invite people to come up on my live show if they want to. If you've knitted this and want to come up on my panel, I can have 10 people at a time up there. If you guys want to come rotate up, you don't have to, but if you want to come up and talk about maybe knitting this, and then we'll do the slideshow of the of everybody's finished shawl, and then we're going to have a little bit of a giveaway for those who participated in this event with me. If you haven't started this yet and you want to jump in and join us, there's plenty of time. This is just June. We've got till the end of August. So if you want to join in with us on this knit along, just email me your yarn choices. You'll have to buy the pattern in Ravelry. The pattern is down below. I believe it's $5 or $6. and then, you know, find some yarn in your stash and get started with this. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's like, again, like I said again, her patterns are so well written, and just a very relaxing knit that makes something so beautiful. I think I've knitted maybe 6 or 7 of her patterns, so I've enjoyed each one of them. All right, so today we're going to get into the other people's projects updates. These are people who, some of these people I have shared before, and if I've shared them before, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the yarn and stuff, but if they're new, I probably will talk a little bit more about the yarn. So this is the first person I have to share is Barb of the Naughty Yarnies. This is her Clue 1. Last week we got to see the start of her shawl. She's using a Filatura di Crassa Giolello yarn. I cannot say that. So beautiful. And here's a couple of her Clue 1s as they are progressing. And they're looking gorgeous in that yarn. Super pretty. Next we have Brandy Murray. This is Brandy's first update with us. She's using a Yarn Art Flowers yarn, and isn't that pretty? It's a really pretty colorway, and here's the start of her Clue 1. It's looking great. Looking at all the projects, I'm really enjoying the single color shawls and the gradients, so I'm excited to see this knit up. The next person to share with us is Crocheting and Knitting Addiction with Shari. That's Shari Montgomery. Now, Shari showed us a shawl last week, but she changed her yarns, and she is doing the first one is a superwash merino in tan. The second yarn is a stroll superwash merino nylon in white and teals, shades of teal, and the third is a peach taffy superwash merino. So this is her shawl restart, and it's looking really great. And thank you for sharing that, Shari. I like to say that. Okay, the next person to share with us is Deb Douglas. Now, Deb is using a chroma fingering weight yarn. This is from Knit Picks. This is in the colorway Looping, and it is such a beautiful yarn. It's gradient, but it's a rotating gradient. I think it's like it's gonna kind of repeat the gradient over again, and it's looking so pretty. It's pinks and purples, and here's our Clue 1, and it's so gorgeous. I love this. I'm so excited to see how this works up. The yarn is doing a lot of, the yarn is doing the color changes, so I think it's really nice.
The next person to show us a project is Diana Emmick. She has some gorgeous yarns here. She was saying that this pink is more of an orchid, not a hot pink, and that is more of a navy blue. And here's her Clue 1. Isn't that looking gorgeous? We saw that last week, and now she has her Clue 2, and with that navy coming in. Isn't that beautiful? Her variegated's gorgeous. All her colors are playing well, and I love that she's actually using a variegated as well as one of her colors. Thank you, Diana, for sharing with us, and sorry I had to do a voiceover. I had already finished recording, but I'm happy to insert this here because it's such a beautiful project, and I don't want to miss sharing this with everyone.
Next person to share with us is Dimitra Tzamtzis. Last week I shared Dimitra's yarn. Now I have her Clue 1 updates. Here's a picture of her Clue 1 and her Clue 1 close-up. And now if you remember, she's doing an Advent set that she got last year. And this is looking really good. So everything's going to shift subtly throughout her shawl. Her colors are fading into each other. It's looking really beautiful. The next person to share with us is Donna Holmes. Donna is doing some yarn from her stash. She's recycling 3 of her yarns, some sock yarns, and then the pink yarn. That's her last color she's showing here for her. She's got the Clue 1, and then here is the Clue 2, the pink yarn that's added. That's that 4th color is a recycled sweater, which is a great idea. And then these look amazing together. These colors look really great. It's beautiful. The next person to share with us is Evelina Lindstrom. She is using an alpaca silk yarn from her grandmother's stash, and it's in this gorgeous shade of green. And here is her finished clue one. Isn't that beautiful? In the one color, I think it's so pretty. And her knitting is looking so great too. Thank you, Evelina, for sharing that with us. The next person to share with us is beautiful Joyce Swensson. She is she has 5 colors that came all together, and this is 4 colors, so she's trying to figure out if she's going to put that 5th color in or not. Here's her clue 2, and they look so pretty together. These are like shades of peach and pale creams, and the last color, we'll just have to see if she's going to put it if she's going to put it in next, or what's going to happen this week, or what she's going to do. But isn't that beautiful? Clue 2 looks amazing. The next person to share with us is Katia Hernandez. That's this Katie Bear. This is her finished clue 2. It's looking great. She's got a variegated in there. She's it looks really, really good. Her stitches are popping, and the yarn has great stitch definition. I talked about her yarn last week. If you're interested in that, you can go grab all the names of that. She's got a lot of really nice yarns she's using for that. This next person is a new person here to share with us this week. Not a new person here. This is Comeaux. He is knitting with Hobby Lobby, Rainbow Rhapsody, and Crimson Poppy. And he's doing a great job. I mean, this is Shawl Star, and I'm excited to see this gradient knit out. I'm so excited you're knitting with us, and I just can't wait to see this happen. This is a beautiful, beautiful yarn, and your start looks great. The next person is Mary Hewen. Mary won one of my patterns in my pattern giveaway. She is using a yarn from Hobie. It is Hobie's Sultan Shadow yarn, and it starts with a color, it ends with a black on the edge, which ought to be really interesting because Helen said she was going to edge it with a dark edge, with the darkest color she had. And here's her shawl start. It looks a little green in this picture, and maybe the center is a little bit green. I'm not really sure. But it is kind of yellowish green. It's gorgeous. I love that color. It's really pretty. So it's looking really good. The next person to share with us is Melanie Titus. Now Melanie is doing a couple of options. This is one of her options that she sent me an update on. This is her Twister Hobie yarn, and isn't that looking great? She's doing so good, and I'm so proud of her. She's a newer knitter, and she's doing great, and I just love that. Thank you for sending that in. Now here's my Miss May clue 2 in a still shot. Pass through that quickly. All right. The next person to give us an update is Sandra Croley. Now Sandra is using Holst garn, super soft yarn, which is luxury at its finest. She's using 4 colors, and these are kind of like, I think maybe based a little bit kind of like how Helen put her colors together. She's using a plum, a gold, an orange, and a coral. And isn't this just gorgeous? Oh, Sandra, I just love your shawl. It looks so pretty. Thank you for sharing that with us. It's so nice. The next person to share with us is Scary Spider. Her name makes me smile. And she, if you remember, she's going to do 2, but we have an update for her for one of her shawls. She is using a gorgeous yellow, green, navy, and orange. She told me that she's calling this her Sunny Days Miss May shawl. Isn't that appropriate and perfect for this shawl? It looks great. I love it. The next person to share with us is Stephanie R. She is also Narosa 23 in Rivalry. Now, Stephanie is doing a 1-color shawl, and she's using Lion Brand Summer Nights yarn in Treasure Island. And here's her yarn, and it's got a little bit of a sparkle in it, and I just love that. And look at her clue 1. It looks really beautiful in this yarn. I'm excited to see this continue on and get knitted out. It's really, really pretty. All right, the next person to share with us is Susan Fortner. Now, Susan is using these are her yarns that she'll be using to knit this up. that she's sharing with us today. She's using a red color, a rust color, a brown, and then a teal blue. These are gorgeous. It's going to be really, really pretty to see this shawl knit up in these four really dark and rich colors. I can't wait to see that. Let's see, the next person is Tami Sabo. We saw Tami start last week. This is her clue 2. She's keeping up with it, and here's her clue 2 in her yarns, and she has some variegated yarns in there as well. She's using let's see if I can do this, Roxy Leo Roxy Basics yarn. It's gorgeous, looks really great. The next person is I just want to say Tree Beard's Home is also participating with us, but she's had an unexpected medical procedure, so I just want to say I'm thinking about you, praying for you. Hope that you're going to have really good success with your procedure this week, and looking forward to see your update when you feel better. No rush, but we're excited that you're knitting this with us. The next person to share with us is Wendy Bonvie. She is using Red Heart Luster Sheen in a beige, a yellow mystery yarn, and then a variegated yarn from Dollar Tree Crafters Square. And it's looking really great. I love that bright yellow in the middle. It's really, really pretty. This is her clue 1. Looks great. The last person to share with us today is Wendy Cutler. Wendy is from Australia. Now Wendy got to be a test knitter for Helen for this shawl. So she's already finished her shawl, but she's sharing her clue 2 with us today. She's also knitting a second shawl in a single color, but her 4-color shawl, these colors are black wattle yarn and fibers, sweet pea yarn. She has some Louie and Lola yarn, which is Louie Blues Blue Greens, and Miss Crick Clack Center Place Single Skein Merino, which is the green. These are unique yarns because they're all from, and I guess they're all more local to Australia. So I'm excited about seeing these and seeing this knit up, and I'm so glad that you're here, and look forward to seeing the rest of the clues play out and to see your single color shawl being knit up as well.
Okay, this is Debbie Perea's gorgeous orange shawl. She is using Yarn Bee Color Idyllic yarn, and this is her clue 2 update. Isn't it looking amazing? I just really am enjoying seeing the 1-color shawls. I think I really let the pattern and the design shine. Here's another angle of it. It's really, really beautiful. Sorry I'm doing a voiceover. I got these after filming, and I wanted to include them. So I hope this isn't too annoying for it to be filmed this way, but these are so gorgeous you had to see them. Thank you, Debbie, for submitting this, and it's just really beautiful. The next person is Ingrid, of Ingrid's Inspirations. She's using a gorgeous yarn from S. Teresa, which is a yarn store out of South Africa. And look at her. We now can see her other colors coming into play. This is her clue 2. Look at all that gorgeous knitting, gorgeous pastel colors. It's really letting the yarn design shine. Ingrid, this is just beautiful. Thank you so much for participating and inspiring us with this gorgeous shawl.
And I think that's all I have for today. That's all I got for the weekend for an update. Again, if you want to participate with us, please just email me. You can join in anytime. Like I said, we're going to be running this through the end of August. So as is Helen Stewart and her Ravelry group, which is linked below. And there's plenty of time to start now and join in with us. I think you can easily catch up. I think the first clue took me a couple of days. The second clue took a day to knit. So there's really 3 days of knitting here that you could easily get caught up on. So if you want to join us, please do. And thank you to everybody who is participating. I'm so excited to have you here. I look forward to sharing all of your updates as you send them to me. And I know that a lot of times when I knit something, it may not be, it may not speak to you, but something in a different color, in a different way will speak to somebody else. And so just know that your work is inspiring others to create beautiful shawls. Thank you for being so inspirational. It's so wonderful to have you here. All right, today, you guys know, like, when on my longer videos, I like to kind of have a little special treat because you guys sit here and watch me talk for 30 minutes long, which is amazing to me, time and time again. But I'm going to have another hidden giveaway in this video. Today, I have 2 skeins of Sheepia's Whirlette yarn. Now this yarn is 60% cotton, 40% acrylic, and each skein is 100 grams. It's 455 meters. This is a fingering weight yarn, and it would be perfect because that's enough yardage. These 2 skeins is enough yardage to make one of these Miss May shawls, and they would be really great. Please remember to read the rules for the giveaway down below. You know, they're not sponsored by YouTube. They're sponsored by my husband and myself, and you must be 18 years old to enter. That's one of the most important things, but please read the rules down below as well. If you would like to participate in this giveaway, please put a comment down below this video and include the word sapphire. SAPPHIRE. Okay. And I will pick a winner. Probably the date will be down below at the beginning of the rules. And I may just do it with when I do the monthly yarn giveaway video. We'll have to see how close those fall together. I like to give you guys a week to watch these videos, especially when they're longer. Thank you so much for spending time with me. I know these videos are a little bit longer because I have project updates with them, so thank you for spending time with me. I really do appreciate that. And I hope that you're all having a wonderful day. Take care, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Bye-bye.